welcome back to another episode of Cinema d'Amore. I'm your host Chuck with
Justin.
And this week we're continuing on. We're branching out from our last movie. We're going with Good Time by the Safdie brothers, and I'll just let you see. So, what do you think the connection is?
Right out the bat.
Just right off the bat.
Yes. Is the connection bank robbery?
No.
Is the connection the dog?
No.
I don't know if I'm going to get this yet. I don't know if I'm ready for it. I'm going to have to come back to it.
All right. So yeah, we'll just talk about them. I'll let you think about that then. Yeah. So this is probably the movie that got them noticed. Put them on maybe Adam Sandler's radar, I guess, so they could do Uncut Gems together. They needed to make some sort of big project first before they could go straight to Sandler. I'm sure they've had that thought for their whole lives. Man, one day when we make that great Adam Sandler movie, but we got to do something else first. We can't just go straight into the. We can't just go right into that Adam Sandler movie. We gotta show them what we're doing here.
Everybody wants to make the great American movie, but the Safdies wanted the great Adam Sandler movie. They're like, we got to make the great Adam Sandler movie.
We talked about it. It sounds like a joke, but that was kind of Paul Thomas Anderson's thing. He was like, man, I just love Adam Sandler, and I just wanted to find a reason to work with Adam Sandler and put him in my movie for Punch Drunk Love. So, it's not an uncommon thing.
Tarantino had him for Inglourious Bastards, but for how long that fucking took, he ended up losing him.
He had to settle for Mike Myers.
I don't even know what role. I assumed that he would be like the Bear Jew.
I think that's what he was supposed to be, yeah. Which is funny because I just can't, I don't know that I could picture that. Because he's not a very large guy. Not that Eli Roth is the biggest guy in the world, but I don't know.
That scene of him coming out of the shadows with a baseball bat is just feels weird if it was Adam Sandler.
If it was Adam Sandler, just trying to picture that in your head. Yeah. So that'd be an interesting one. But yeah, it is a weird thing of, hey, there are a lot of directors that are like, man, if only I could work with Adam Sandler. And then Adam Sandler just goes, I'm just going to make another dumb comedy for Netflix. They're like, damn it. Thought we had him this time. I thought our pitch was good.
Yeah, before this film, they did Daddy Longlegs, which I just watched, and it was all right. I think they progressively get better. They're like modern day John Cassavetes. That's what it reminds me of. It's always New York, or primarily New York. It's shot very handheld, naturalistic, is what I see it being called.
It feels like, it feels like even some of the people that they interact with feel like they're just real people. They don't feel like actors. It feels like they randomly find real people.
A lot of them
are just
are.
Here, get in my movie.
A lot of them are, because when I was watching one of their shorts, which was basically, it's called Question and Answer, but it was for Uncut Gems, and it's they play it like they couldn't get Adam Sandler to do a Q&A, so they trick him into a Q&A at a diner, and Jason Bateman just happens to be there, and people just are asking him questions about Uncut Gems. And that was one of the things that they brought up, they're such realistic looking people. And he said, well, it's our casting agent. We try to get actually as realistic, real people as we can. But he's like, a lot of the small roles that we have in our movie, even speaking roles, they'll hire non-actors. A lot of people in Uncut Gems were actual jewelers in the Diamond District.
Yeah.
And they said they're like the one guy looked like Rodney Dangerfield, so we kept him, we wanted him in that movie.
I know exactly who they're talking about too. Yeah, one of the guys that he pawns the ring to.
They're like, we just really wanted to, we just had to work really long with him to get the performance that we wanted, but
to get him to memorize the lines and get it to get it to seem more natural.
Yeah, just squeeze it out of him. But yeah,
But
whatever
yeah,
they're going for, um, it almost makes me think of Leone or Eastwood, where they would just choose like the like very realistic looking people
yeah,
for smaller parts.
yeah.
Was Good Time a good time?
I mean, not for almost anybody in the film. I don't think anyone in that movie is having a good time.
That's another big connection I see with their characters. Their characters are always like a fucking mess.
They're very
Usually,
down on their luck. They're very uh, don't make good decisions at all.
they're not very smart. They never make the right decision.
They're like always. There's a lot of connections between this and Uncut Gems. In terms of like the characters, it almost feels like Uncut Gems is just like an evolution of this film. It's the next step with these type of characters. Of
Oh, it is.
they're all
I mean, it
thinking
goes beyond that.
they're
If
all
you
in the short
watch,
term. They don't have any real plans for the
no,
future. It's all just like, how can I make money right now?
no, I was gonna say I watched a couple of their short films and now finally watched Daddy Long Legs, and they're all the same. All the characters are the same thing. Like, they're like barely functioning as people, and this is like the prime example of like the two brothers in this movie. Nick, aren't they called like Nick Nicholas? What's their last name? It's like
Nikas.
Nick Nikas, and his brother Constantine, I think, right? Isn't he
Yeah.
Kwani for Constantine? They is like his brother's mentally challenged. Nick is mentally challenged, and so I don't know. For some reason, you think that like Connie, the Robert Pattinson character, is taking care of him, but he's just as dumb. Like he makes the worst decisions. Like, why is he bringing his brother with him to this bank robbery? All his smaller decisions just don't fucking make sense either. Like, not make sense for like he's a dumb character.
Yeah. Yeah.
They make sense for him, but they're
He doesn't know anything about doing a bank robbery. Like which the entire that's where we start is like he picks up his brother from therapy or something, and they go to this bank
he has like
robbery,
a
and they're wearing these ridiculous masks that are like they're like so stiff they don't move at all. They're just like sitting on their face, so like they just look like two guys with their mouths constantly open, like they can't close their mouths, and their eyes are like super blank. You can't even. They're wearing like dumb sunglasses, but yeah, that entire scene when he like slips the note that's like, "Give me $65,000," and she gives him like everything in the drawer, and it was like, "I don't have 65,000," and like the whole thing where they're like, he's like, "Give me the pen," so he can like keep writing notes to her. They like keep slipping the paper back and forth, and then yeah, like letting her go and fill the bag out of sight, which is like obviously she's gonna call the police. They put the dye pack in there. Like it's all things that yeah, anyone that knows. Like I feel like even the casual viewer of this movie, even I'm watching it and going, she's definitely going to put a dye pack in that bag when as soon as she goes back there, and as soon as they go to open it, even before that happens, you just know it's going to happen because you know how bank robberies work, and he obviously doesn't. He's like not thinking about that at all.
even the smaller details. They do keep the note. They tell the tellers to keep that note, so if they could tie them back to like the handwriting or something, and
Yeah,
she does. She keeps it. When I
they like
worked at the
dump their
bank,
disguises in the alley. I'm sure those have fingerprints all over them.
yeah, I mean, their plan isn't. It's not exactly far fetched, but it doesn't. They didn't think it through.
Like I
That's
said,
for
they
sure.
don't think through to the long term. They're just thinking about like right now.
No, because like it does seem like a good idea at first when they're like, okay, we'll wear the realistic looking masks so they can't get what we look like at all. They also wear reflective vests like they're construction workers or
Yeah,
something. So like that's actually as smart as they possibly get, because people's focus are going to be on things that aren't them. Like, they were wearing these weird masks, or they were, they were the ones wearing these bright reflective vests. So, I mean, I guess they're kind of off to a decent start, but that's about it. That's where it ends. I'm like, yeah, somebody probably would find the mask. But even
Yeah,
like that whole scene when he's talking to his brother, you're like, why the fuck did he bring his brother there?
yeah.
His brother's
Also,
clear.
they're using like an Uber for their getaway car, which is like, but like when he calls, where are you at, man? I'm standing outside where you dropped us off, and that guy's like, I have to keep circling the block. I can't just park here. He's like, the cops made me move. I have to keep circling the block. Like,
I mean, and that's a good scene too when you're talking about the dye pack and the dye pack goes off and in the bag, just starts spraying through the
when
bag, and
everyone
then they're.
stops, when you hear it first, and like the guy driving just goes, "What was that?" Like, what are you doing back there?
I mean, I would be on. In all honesty, I would think if I didn't open the bag, maybe I'd be okay. So I do like that it comes through the bag because it's a very breathable bag.
Yeah,
But yeah, they take out the Uber driver by accident. He he wrecks the car.
yeah, they're covered in pink paint,
Yeah.
which is yeah, I know that stuff like does not scrub off. I really don't even think they could scrub that stuff off in a Domino's bathroom.
I mean, I got they apparently do.
But yeah, they managed to
But yeah,
managed to
even all
somehow
of it,
get it.
all the whole. I mean, I think that the weird thing. Well, I feel like Uncut Gems is a lot more structured. Like and this and the previous movies that they've done, they feel like there's some sort of like this happens and then this happens and then it's like an escalation is the basic story structure. So when you're watching something like this, it's like, where the hell is it going to go next?
Yeah,
And but it matches the characters, because the characters, like you said, they're not thinking ahead
yeah,
ever.
yeah, because he wants to. His brother gets arrested, and he goes to get his brother bailed out, but he's short on the cash because uh, the guy won't take most of the money. He'll only take like the really clean bills. He's like, "Come on, you can't take this." The guy's like, That's disgusting. It's filthy. I can't. What am I going to do with that? I can't
Is
take
the
bills that are covered
connection
in. I can't take bills covered in dye.
is the connection financial issues?
No.
Does it have anything to do with a relationship like family, like brothers?
Yes.
Okay.
It was that there's brothers. We've had a
Oh,
lot of
okay.
brother. We had multiple brothers in the last film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
then
you
you
got
did better
that.
than me. That was like the fourth guess.
I thought mine was too obvious. I was like, ah, he's gonna get it immediately. It's about brothers, and there was two sets of brothers in Amores Perros. I was like, he's gonna get that. Like I was, because that was my first thought was oh, I want to like brothers is a good connection. There's lots of good movies about brothers, but so many
There's
movies with
even the movie
brothers.
Brothers.
Well, yeah, that was my problem. So many movies have the word brothers in the title, and I was like, oh, if it has brothers in the title, it's gonna be like I immediately be like, is it because they're brothers? Like it was too obvious. So I had to find a movie that didn't specifically feature brothers in the title, but was specifically about two brothers. So yeah, you got
And
that.
also what we're learning is like you guessed 3 times, I've guessed 4 times. So obviously there's a lot more connections. We haven't hit a movie yet that has like very loose connections. We're coming up with
Yeah,
other connective tissue.
got to make it harder next time. It's gonna be like they had the same best boy.
I don't, if you can do that, it's fair game. Like, yeah, if I can't guess it, I can't guess it. But as long as the connection's there. Or like I said, where I'm like, vagabond character, and then we watched the movie and Google got it wrong, and I've never seen the movie before. So I'm like, what's the connection? And I'm like, well, it actually wasn't in the movie at all.
Yeah, Google lied to me, which happens sometimes.
Yeah, you'd be like, I'd argue that. And I'm like, I would argue it too, but Google,
Yeah,
let us down.
yeah, yeah. We do start to learn. You get a little bit more and more of. Uh, I think uh, the only thing Connie's good at is he's a very skilled liar and is very good at convincing people to do things for him, seemingly with very little effort. Obviously, like gets his brother to go along with him. Then he gets his I guess girlfriend, uh, who's much older than he is. So I don't know, I don't even know how
I
they
thought
get
that
like
was like his.
connected.
I'll be honest with you. Maybe I missed it, but like, I thought that was his cousin or something.
I don't know where you got that from. They were talking about going on vacation together, like
Yeah,
a
that's what
romantic
cousins do.
getaway. Yeah, I guess in your family, what are you pulling some weird things there? Uh, no, it's his
Yeah, her
girlfriend.
mother is Jennifer Jason Leigh's mom's like don't answer the door for him. Quit talking to him. Leave him.
Yeah,
Get rid of him.
like she knows he's a bad influence on her, gets her to do things, which she also seems very mentally unstable. Like
That
she doesn't seem to I don't know how to put it. Like she seems very easily confused or you know tricked into doing things. Which yeah, I love. It's
yeah.
it's like because this whole story is like my brother was in this program and this guy was assaulting him and he just had to defend himself and it's just a whole crazy thing. But he'll get they won't even actually prosecute him once they figure out what's going on. I just need a couple $1,000s, and then they get to the bail place. It's like, all right, you ready to make that $10,000 payment? It's like, whoa, $10,000. It's like the same as a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, and then too, like after they're cleaned up and the police run into him, he tells his brother, he's like, just be cool. And his brother just takes off running, and it's like, son of a bitch. And it's like, that's probably the only reason they really got caught. I mean, it comes down to Connie should never have brought his brother for this job that he could have 100% done by himself.
Yeah,
It's almost like he's babysitting. He's like, I got to watch him, so he's got to do the bank robbery with me. There's no other way around it. Those masks are probably super expensive too. I don't think those are like that. Might be the only part of this movie that just seems the most unrealistic. Is that unless they stole them from somewhere, I guess.
I don't know.
But you order a mask like that, you're talking maybe like $1,000 at
Those are like
least.
yeah. Those weren't at Spirit Halloween.
No, no. But yeah, he goes to the bail bondsman with his girlfriend, not cousin, Jennifer Jason Leigh, to pay the
Yeah,
bonds to get his brother, and then he finds out his brother got hurt very badly, and he's at
he's
the
in the
hospital.
hospital. Yeah, which then that whole sequence, like yeah, like I said, he's like very charming at like making himself seem like nothing's wrong, nothing's out of place.
Hmm.
Because yeah, you'd think the cops should have like a picture of him because we see it later. Like they show a picture of him on the news, so they know who the brother is. But it's almost like because he just walks around like very confidently and like it's almost like they're thinking there's no way that the brother would just like walk right into the hospital right up to us, like because he walks by multiple police officers and no one ever tries to stop him. He even talks to that one guy and like immediately has that whole story about it's crazy, man. The TV in my dad's room is just turning on and off, and man, that scared me. Oh, you want something from the vending machine? And like just completely the cops like, oh, this guy just seems like a nice guy. Like nothing's out of the ordinary
Or
with
a
him.
hair before, where he's talking to that guy about the police,
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's on like the sixth floor." Like he gets the information he needs
yeah,
off of that random guy.
yeah. He's like, oh yeah. He says they're on the fifth floor, and he's like, there shouldn't be any prisoners on the fifth floor. They're on the sixth floor, and he's like,
Yeah,
oh yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to talk to somebody about that, and like Uh, but yeah, I love how he breaks what he thinks at the time is his brother out. Gets to that later, but
I mean, that's also a prime example of like maybe why they weren't like the cop wouldn't be away, like the cop sitting outside of the patient's room wouldn't be aware of who that guy was.
yeah, like that's where you think about it later is
Yeah.
yeah, he's not looking for a guy like this at all because that's not who he's guarding. He's not guarding the brother. Like wherever his brother actually was in the hospital, those cops would probably be on the lookout, but this guy's like he's not looking for anybody in particular. Uh yeah, he busts him out, somehow manages to get him all the way downstairs without anyone thinking it's weird that he's just pushing around this unconscious guy in a neck brace. Uh, gets on that bus.
If anything, you think they're running out on some bill.
Yeah, and I love when he's on the bus too. That like they have that ride, and the guy's like calling out the stops, and then he's like, "Hey, wait a second! I didn't have you guys on my stop," and like you think they were gonna get busted. He's like, "It's just another 2 blocks." It's like, okay, a literal 2 blocks or like 15 minutes 2 blocks. Just right down the street here.
Yeah, and they backtrack to like the third person's place to.
Yeah,
And I think this is probably the weirdest part of the movie is everything that happens in that apartment.
yeah.
Um,
That whole house is weird. Yeah, you find that like yeah. First off, the fact that they let this. I mean, I guess he's just that. Like I said, he's that convincing that he comes up with the stories on the spot of oh yeah, I got locked out of my house. I don't have my phone on me. It's in the house and
he
they
definitely was
didn't
at the
they didn't give me
hospital because
stuff.
he was on the bus with them.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, can I just use your phone? Which, yeah, then I love they have a phone that they can't unplug from the wall, like almost like they're using that as their house phone. You can't, like, which I've known people like that. That's like, oh, the battery's not good, and it's like you should upgrade the phone. No, it's the phone works. You just have to leave it plugged in all the time while you're using it. It's like then it's not a good phone.
Yeah, he's like a questionable person, but they're letting him in the house. They're letting him stay
Yeah,
there.
They let him. They
They're
let
not
it.
like
They let him put his brother in an empty room they've got, which again also doesn't work. They're like the light doesn't work in here, so you just have to turn the TV on and leave it on static for a light.
they're like there's like a 16-year-old girl there, and like the grandma or mother or whoever, some of the family was just like don't hang out with them, and that was like as far as the parenting went. So like
But yeah,
beyond having strangers there,
the
you're
fridge doesn't have
literally
any
like
food in it. They're like, she's like,
the
you won't
fridge had
find
like
food in
weird
there.
shit, like jars and shit in it. Like it made me think of hoarders.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is like they probably are just like so poor or something like that. They just don't have any money. Yeah, the girl's like, I have chicken nuggets in the freezer. That's the only food in the house. Also, then he goes through everything and dyes his hair, which is hilarious. Like, what's in your hair? Oh, I found hair dye in the bathroom. He's like,
I
so
don't know
you
what color
dyed your
that's gonna
hair?
be.
Yeah,
That's old.
like the fact that he's just like, and he doesn't even like try to come up with like an excuse for that. He's just like, oh, I found hair dye in your bathroom, so I just used it.
Yeah, I think he alludes to like he's weird, and that's it. He's like, yeah, I get it,
Yeah,
it's weird, but it's
yeah,
just things I do.
yeah, I'm a weird guy, I guess.
But yeah, he sees himself on the news, but he like tries to distract her terribly, I guess, by kissing her. But
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's successful. It's just creepy because we've been very clearly told she's 16. So it's like that's his only thought of that's his only that's his only idea. That's maybe the
well,
one
it's
time
more.
where he doesn't come up with a good idea is just like I'll just some statutory rape, I guess. That's what we'll use.
Well, yeah, that's what it becomes because it's more than just a distraction because like after they turn the TV off or whatever, he's clearly like gonna have sex with her or something
Yeah.
until they start hearing a bunch of noise and
Yeah,
his
when that guy wakes up, that I think that may be my favorite like funny part is all you hear is what the fuck? Where the fuck am I? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
And I'll be honest, like I still thought it was the brother for like a second till you realize how he's talking. You're like, oh
it's
wait,
yeah,
this
it's
guy.
like it's hard to notice, and it's like they play it off because his brother, like earlier we saw his brother in jail, and he got like he's all cut up because he went through a glass door, and then he also gets beat up because he's like trying to change the TV channel in the room, and these guys beat him up. So that's why you're expecting, because when you see him in the hospital before he breaks the guy out, you see he's like covered in bandages all over his face. So I guess that's why it's like assumed like he kind of has a similar face profile and like the same color hair. So it's like
Yeah.
he could easily be mistaken with all those
He also
bandages and
like
neck brace on.
outburst and like hurt his grandmother beforehand because when it opens, he's talking to like a psychologist or a therapist or something that looks a lot like David Cronenberg, not David Cronenberg.
Yeah,
Um, he they even show before they show Connie's picture on the news. It actually happens a couple of times. There's always like an interview with the grandmother where she like fucking hates Connie, and it's her from like she broke like I think Nick broke her arm or something in some
yeah,
altercation. So when you go in, and the guy's throwing a fit, like it doesn't seem unrealistic like that.
yeah,
It still seems like that very much could be the brother.
yeah. Which then we very quickly realize it's not. He broke the wrong guy out of the hospital,
And this
which is
guy,
comedic in and of itself. That like they're like, yeah, that he broke the wrong guy out of the hospital, and then that guy's like, "What am I supposed to do?" And he's like, I don't know what you're supposed to do. I wasn't trying to break you out of the hospital."
yeah, and then he's like, at first, like gonna bring him back to the hospital. He's like, wait a minute, don't bring me back. Like
Yeah,
I was handcuffed for a reason. Like I don't want to
yeah.
go back. That
We
is
get that
the
whole
third
story
wheel.
of with that whole story of how he got arrested.
Yeah, well, it breaks into perfectly the next part of the story. Like it feels like a flashback, but I mean, it is flashback, but it also is the next step in the story because it definitely is where the rest of the story goes. I was gonna say that guy Bronstein, the actor, is like the third Safdie brother. He's one of like he writes with them and produces with them
Yeah,
and
he works on
stars
a
in
lot
their
of their
stuff.
stuff.
I think he
Yeah,
wrote Uncut Gems.
he
I don't know if
did.
he wrote this or not, but he
I think he did. I
um
think he wrote both of them.
you almost can't recognize him either because even when he has the bandages off, he has so much heavy
His
makeup on
face
his
is all
face.
swollen, and he has still has like band-aids all over his face from they were doing acid, and he jumped out of a guy's car while they were driving down the highway.
Yeah, so they take that girl's grandmother's car, and the girl goes along with the Connie and this random ass guy. Is his name like Roy or something? He
Roy or
kidnaps.
Ray.
Yeah, he takes him with him. So it's those three, and
They're
yeah,
going to look for the money that the guy robbed a Radio Shack to get. Which I'm like, they're like he robbed a Radio Shack, and Connie's like, oh, I can get that money, and I'm thinking, did Radio Shack have $10,000 in it? Does he really think like again? It's that like who knows how much money is actually there, but it's like it's that short term. Like he doesn't think that far ahead. That he's like, oh, if I can get that money, and I think you're pretty. At least I'm pretty sure that like as soon as they found the money, he probably would have like knocked that guy out or something and taken it all. Even though he tells them, "Hey man, let's go back to that." It's in a theme park because that's where they ran from the cops to. He's like, "Let's go back to that theme park and get the money, and we'll split it 50-50 when we find it." But it's like I'm 100% sure that as soon as they found the money, he would have just knocked that guy out or something and left him there. He did, if especially if it
yeah.
was he needed all the money. He doesn't have time to he doesn't have time to split it.
Well, even that other guy, like when it goes back to like stupidity, where he's like, "It's my money," and he's like, "Yeah, but obviously I'm after the money too.
But
Like you
yeah,
told me about the money, and
he's
I
like,
need the
you'd be in
money."
the hospital right now. You'd be in the hospital
Yeah,
locked up right now if I didn't break you out. I'm entitled to half the money. And
and
that
there you
guy's
go.
like,
He
I
convinces that guy.
guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess. That yeah. They show up Also, again, I think too they're driving that car has like one headlight out, which again feels like another way of like you're thinking the cops are going to pull him over for that. Like there's everything working against him, and he doesn't think that they're like, oh, he's just like driving down the street. Like the cops would immediately want to pull him over if they saw him there. Yeah,
Yeah, and
they
I mean,
get
and when they break into that amusement park too, they like leave the car running with the girl in it, and it's like a weird time at night that
also. I think they
nobody.
say like this is this guy's house. They're like we're just going to drop him off at his house. They're like this is where you live, right? Yeah, and it's like yeah, they're sitting outside of an amusement park, not a house. They have to climb over a barbed wire fence to get in.
Yeah, that's another good scene too, where he can't get over the fence, so he just like he's like, "I'm not telling you where it is if I can't be in there."
Yeah, you
And
got to
he's
find
like,
another way
"Fine,"
in.
and he just shoves him like violently over the
Yeah,
fence. And then they get in there, and it's stupid where it's like they can't find the money. He's like, "Look anywhere. It could be behind this." He's like, "How do you not know where you hid it?" He's like, "It was all lit up before, and it's not lit up now." And he ends up finding the like Sprite bottle that
yeah,
has the acid in it.
yeah. Oh, I found it. Oh, you found the money? Nah, man, I found that. I found the Sprite bottle, man. You know how much this is worth? Like, I don't care about that. I need cash now.
I need cash now. JG Wentworth.
Yeah, it's really who they should have called. They needed that cash now.
And then we get Barkhead Adby from Captain
Captain Phillips.
Phillips, who's like the security guard that's just sort of like, what in the hell are you guys doing? Um, he ends up capturing the Ray, and then Connie's bad enough that he's able to figure out where Connie's at, and he's already called the police. So, but then Connie, yeah, he gets the upper hand where he pretty much murders the guy. I mean, he doesn't kill him, but he's like, it's like on the verge of murder.
Then they just give him a bunch of acid, and they're like, he won't even remember this when he wakes up. Which yeah, later
Steals
when
his
when the cops show up and come in, after he's disguised himself as the security guard, like I don't know what's up with this guy. Yeah, he was just here, doing weird stuff, and when he wakes up, he's just like, blah, 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 blah. They're like, okay, get him in the ambulance, take him away, like he just
yeah,
can't talk.
they're like these crackheads.
Yeah, yeah, these guys on drugs, just get him out of here. And then yeah, they arrest the girl, take her off. But yeah, he leaves her even after he gave this big speech of like, I think we were meant to be together. I think you're part of my future. Like trying to convince her not to. I think more trying to convince her not to call someone while she's in the car, like not to call the cops or call her grandmother or something like that, and tell him like, hey, this weird guy like took me out of the house and we're driving around.
It felt pretty realistic. I went to the movies on Friday night before recording this, and where I was at, there's like a curfew for kids. I don't know if kids were causing issues, but like the police in the area were like found this random kid, and they're like, "Hey, we just want to talk. Like, what are you doing out here?" And you see the kids like roll nervous, like I'm expecting the kid to run, but it totally makes like everything he was saying was contradictory. It just really reminded me of when the cops were like picking up that girl. Like, why are you out here at night? Why are you, what's going on? Who are these people? And all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
Like, your story's not adding up. But yeah, he just lets her go, mostly because it probably benefits him, but it also benefits her to just be done with him and just
yeah.
like,
Now
just
all they
end
have
it.
to now all they have to do is sell the acid because they still can't find the money. They can't figure out where it could possibly be in there. They're like, yeah, that guy really is just like I don't know. Look everywhere, and he's like, I'm not looking everywhere. We can't just look everywhere all night long. Like we have to figure this out. Like where were you? What did you do? The guy's like,
Yeah.
take the lid off that coffin, and he's like, it's bolted down. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we got the acid. I need you to sell it tonight. Tonight?
Yeah. They're basically going to sell it back to his friend that I think it originally belonged to technically
Yeah, and
the guy
when
that like gave it to him.
they go to the security guy's like apartment, and then he has like a pit bull there, and then that's where I kind of thought maybe there was a connection with the dogs, because the dog's like clearly extremely aggressive, but
Yeah,
it lets Connie in because he's wearing the clothes, so he smells like his dad or whatever you want to call it. Like
yeah,
that's the only thing that like saves him from being torn to shreds, is the fact that he smells like this guy. And when Ray's friend shows up, it's pretty clear that he was going to like backstab Connie and just take, like,
yeah,
not pay him, but just take the stuff. But when he shows up, like, the dog's very protective of Connie because he smells like the security guard. And yeah, so that's what I was thinking. The dog, like, it might be fighting. There's like, that's another connection, fighting
yeah.
the dog.
Yeah, he starts to get suspicious because the guy came without any money, and he's like, oh, so he's like, I thought we were just gonna negotiate. He's like, so you didn't bring anything with you, like yeah. He's like, oh,
I
this
need
this guy's definitely gonna,
$15,000. I can't get that
yeah,
from the ATM.
yeah. Which another like, yeah, him like overshooting. Like maybe if he'd have said 10, the guy would have been like, all right, fine, 10,000's fine. But because he's like 15, he's like, oh man, this guy's asking way too much. Like, or yeah, or it's just better off if I go and bring some other guys with guns and we just like take it back from him and shoot the dog. Like they're like, I'll just be back and we'll just do that.
I do, like, we have to wait for the bank to open. He's like, all right, that makes sense. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. I can't just go to the ATM, figure it out. All right, I guess I'll go to the bank and wait for 3 hours while they clear that. Because yeah, 10 over. I think what anything over $10,000 is when they have to
$10,000,
start
yeah,
reporting to the
to the government.
yeah. So it's like yeah, I guess I'll go to the bank and I'll have to sit there for 3 hours while they work on that, and I guess I'll come back. Like yeah, he's like I'm just gonna go get some guys with guns and we'll just be back in like 15 minutes. Like it'll be a lot quicker that way. Yeah, but it's too late anyway. The cops are already on to him. Presumably, I'm thinking the security guard maybe finally got coherent enough to tell them, or maybe they checked with the owners of the amusement park, and they were like, oh yeah, did you talk to our security guard? And they're like, and they'd like give that name and be like, that guy? Oh, I think that's the guy we have in jail right now. It's like, well, then who'd you let leave?
Or neighbors or something like
But
that,
yeah, somebody being like,
because
there's this
there's a
weird
lot of
white guy
commotion
in
going on.
this house that's not the guy
They're
that's
pretty
usually
quick.
there.
I mean, they're pretty efficient. They show up. Connie can't get away from them. He drops the bottle in the
Yeah.
puddle or whatever, and then
Or the girl might have given him up. We don't know. She might have revealed a little bit more and been like, yeah, this guy, and yeah, he wasn't really a security guard there if you saw him there.
yeah,
But
she might have picked
somehow
up on
they get
where
on
he
to him.
was. But yeah, they capture him. The police are out the door on like the 15th floor in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I do
And
like.
the
Yeah, the
guy's
shot's great. I love the shot of like over Ray's shoulder, watching everything like from so far away. We never get a
yeah,
close up shot of him being arrested. It's just him running from them, and he throws that bottle of
it
Sprite
makes me think
away.
of like cops or something, like, and then he's like, yeah, running up the ramp.
Yeah, he's like running onto like the roof of another building, and I guess he throws the Sprite because he's like, that's like his thought of maybe if he can figure a way to get out, he'll come back for it or something, or it'll be one less thing that they'll charge him with of drugs.
Just drink all the Sprite.
Yeah, and then we get the great moment of something that happens in Uncut Gems as well, although it doesn't end as badly, of a guy climbing out a window to try to get away. Ray tries to get away, and they're like, uh-oh, look at that guy out there. What's he doing? And then just immediately slips and falls right off the.
Yeah, windows and heights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's probably one of the few like effect shots in this, like visual effect shots.
Yeah.
Unless they did it practically somehow, but it didn't look practical. It's
Yeah.
probably the
I think
the
that was-
worst looking part of the movie, but
I
it's
think
brief.
yeah. it's like from so far away, so it's like it looks blurry, but it would be
He like
blurry from
falls
that
like
far
a
away.
hair too fast. Like it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's probably the only actual like digital effect. But yeah, that's Connie's downfall. Is he has a great line when he's talking to Ray in the apartment, and he's like, look at you, you're such a fuck up. Like we came here and all you want to do is get drunk. Like that was the first thing you did as soon as we came in this apartment. You're not doing anything productive. And Ray says like, why do you always think you're better than me? And he just flat out goes, I am better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that I think is his downfall, is he thinks he's a great like criminal, like mastermind. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room, but he really is just an average guy. Again, I would
Lucky, or
say,
like his skill sets only go so far.
yeah, I would say he's very similar, like we said, to Adam Sandler's character in Uncut Gems, where he has this insane overconfidence that's not really warranted for how his life has gone, where he thinks he is the best person in the room and that he's better than everyone around him, but his life choices show that he's very clearly not better than everyone around him. He makes all these terrible decisions, and nothing ever seems to work out quite right for him.
Right. And then this bookends, like the bookends are about more so Nick. And, Nick's in therapy because he hurt his grandmother and, mentally not stable. And so he's going like getting psychological help, and his brother Connie busts in and is like, don't tell them anything, let's get out of here. So now like the bookend is he's back in like the program because of also the crime that he committed of robbing the bank. But like Connie took most of the blow for that, for like as far as like the crime
Yeah,
and everything went.
yeah.
But
They
you can
they they say like he did the right thing for you, which yeah, I guess is him. He probably said like, well, I mean, which is probably it is the truth that everything was his idea, and like he dragged his brother there, like his brother wasn't involved in it really.
but you could tell his brother's like clearly better off without him, like at all. Like they do that dumb game at the end where like they bring him with other patients, and it's like a true or false type game, that if like they say something that is true to you, you walk across the floor. So it's sort of like admitting through this game how terrible of a person Connie, his brother, has been to him. I don't know if it would really work as a realization for that character per se, but I do like the choice of ending there, and like as the credits roll, they continue to just play the game and ask more questions, and by the time the music by Iggy Pop
Yeah,
starts to fade out, uh, the questions become more irrelevant. 'Cause I had subtitles on, and so I was like, okay, I'm getting more
I didn't have
questions than.
subtitles on, and I could only catch like every once in a while I could hear a question, and like most of them was like I don't know what the question they even asked was.
Yeah, and then I highly recommend going on watching the music video for The Pure and the Damned, which is like the characters like reprise themselves, and I don't know if it's because Iggy Pop's like too old or something, or didn't want to fucking do it. They have like a CG Iggy Pop that like looks terrible, but it connects 100% the good time, so it's fucking weird, and you get to see a little bit more.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the same song that plays in the trailer. Yeah, they have like the composer is very like synth heavy, and it's like a collaboration with him and Iggy Pop for that.
yeah. Which he did the score for Uncut Gems too, which I think is a really good score. Yeah, they worked with the same guys a lot, but I really like this movie. I haven't watched I haven't watched Daddy Long Legs. I want to get around to watching that. Uh,
It's not as good. I think
well,
each movie gets better. Like I like Uncut
yeah,
Gems. I think Uncut Gems is a little bit like more perfected than this thing is.
yeah. It takes a lot of
They
the same
also
ideas and executes them a little better. Yeah.
There's also like two references the good time in it, where like the good time thing comes from the psychologist telling Nick that he's going to have a good time with the other patients. And in Uncut Gems, it happens kind of twice. Once where he's talking about the show Good Times, and then the other one where the guy is like the Russian dude's like locked in the jeweler's, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like the in between station. I don't know, but he's like, are you having a good time, Howard? Are you having a good time, Howard? So it's like that movie does play off this movie though, because like you said, they kind of play with falling out the window. They play with a lot of the same themes, and pretty much the bipolar opposite happens in Uncut Gems.
Yeah, it's
a
like,
little. What if things worked out differently?
It's a little sadder of an ending for the main character. At least he makes it out alive in this film. He just goes to prison presumably for a long time, but
I mean, it's fitting for that character too. Like the character gets what he deserves.
yeah.
It's all consequence. Like the whole thing, that whole movie's building up to like who in the hell is going to kill this guy? He owes so much money to people, and he keeps fucking around with people. And this, you could tell Connie does like the Robert Pattinson character does the same thing, but you don't really get too many interactions with people that know them well. You get Jennifer Jason Leigh, who, you know, recognizes the issues to a degree, and then like the grandmother, which they show the grandmother like 3 times on the news, like bitching about him, but like it always gets cut off, so like you never hear like exactly what happened to her with him.
Yeah.
It's always like you just know that there was some sort of altercation, and Nick hurt her, but she seems to be more angry at Connie. So it's like, what the hell? Like, I don't know. It's a good storytelling thing that like it doesn't really matter. Everything that you need's there. Connie's not a good influence for Nick. Like it's as if like Nick might have hurt her, but it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for Connie.
Yeah.
And that's enough information for you to know,
it's
know
like
that he's better off without him.
it also makes me think of their characters are very similar to of Mice and Men. Like they're very much like he has to protect his brother, because I think like that's what you get, I think, through this whole movie. Is I think that is genuinely the only character that he does care about is his brother. Like he does not care about any of these other people around him. He's just using Jennifer Jason Leigh for her money. Like he really, like, she's talking about going on vacation, but pretty much I think as soon as he got his brother out of jail, like they would have just left together and he would have left her behind. He doesn't care about her at all. He really doesn't care about that young girl that he takes with him that night. He doesn't care about any of these people. Like he really genuinely does care about his brother. It's just, yeah, he really isn't good for his brother.
Not a good influence.
Like he's not. Yeah, he really does want to help his brother. And like I said, the similarity of Mice and Men is the brother. They mention, you only hear him say it like once early on, or I think they bring it up twice. Is after the bank robbery, they're like, okay, let's go. We'll be in Virginia soon or something like that. Like that's where they're going to go. And I think at one point Nick says something about like we were going to have a farm and we were going to have animals. Like that was what he told his brother they could do, which again, that does kind of make me think of those ideas from Octavio in the last movie of we could just move to Juarez and open a store. Like they just have these ideas that are not really
Juarez
realistic
is a
at
little
all.
bit more dangerous than Virginia.
But yeah, that just them kind of being like, we could just go to a town and we'll just do this. Like, yeah, again, how they get away and they just assume that everything will work out because he doesn't think that far ahead.
Also good for Nick, who's intellectually challenged, to not rat on his brother when the cops are going hard on him. Like, we know this was Connie. All you have to do is tell us that, and he won't do it.
Yeah.
He won't hurt his brother.
This is that. Yeah, that's at least the opposite in this movie. Our last movie had brothers wanting to kill each other. This is the opposite. At least they're brothers that are
Gonna
trying to
get
help
each
each
other
other.
killed, but there's
Yeah,
brotherly love there.
yeah,
Yeah, like I mean, you get it in like 2 seconds from like the beginning of that robbery where he's like, "Quit fucking with the mask," like
yeah. It's hot
whatever
and
he
itchy in
says.
here.
Yeah, I can't. Or when they start to leave, and he's like,
Yeah, he's
"Don't
like, I'm gonna take the
run,
mask off. Yeah, he
don't
starts running.
run, keep it on, don't run." It's like this was flawed. This was not well thought through at all.
Yeah,
Which is actually a nice play on the bank robbery type movies, because usually you'll see, the first bank robbery goes off without a hitch, and you see like how professional they are and how
yeah,
well thought through it was. And then it's either like one last job, or they got caught because somebody ratted them out. And this is the complete opposite. Like, they shouldn't have gotten as far as they have in this movie, but like even when they get to the bail bondsman, and he's like, "What about this money?" He's like, "I can't take this money. Like, this is dirty money, like literally dirty money. Like, I'll take bad money, but this
yeah.
is no good. It's got the
Like it
dye
seems
all
very
over it."
very clearly he knows that he got this money from a bank robbery, but he's still like, I don't care, but I just can't take that money in particular.
Yeah.
I can't take
Well, can't you
literal
bail him
dirty
out?
money.
What about the money in the safe? He's like, "The money in the safe is staying in the safe.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. You
not what
already
that's
gave
for."
that to me.
It's also interesting too. Like, there's no. Like, I know he needs that bail bondsman, but you think like, oh, he could have robbed that guy. He knows he's got the money. Maybe he could have used like another bail bondsman or something. But no, he doesn't think it through.
No.
A good way to rob people, though, to rob a bank. No gun and a note is definitely the way to go, because if you do get arrested, then it's not an armed robbery.
Yeah,
It's
just
about the
regular
safe.
robbery.
If you fake a gun, you're gonna get arrested for yeah, assault with a deadly weapon. So there's just some advice on the movie podcast for bank
There you go.
robberies. It also too, like, I do like the aesthetic of like I've seen it somewhat in the Strip District, like in that PNC bank that was in the Strip District. I don't know if it's still there, with like the heavy plexiglass. It's like all scratched up and shit, so
Yeah,
like you can't interact with those people at all. And you get a lot of that in Uncut Gems with all the jewelers and stuff. It's almost all the jewelers are like encased in some sort of thing where like they're protected from a robbery for the most part. Robbery proof, I guess, is what you would call it.
yeah,
And even this bank, which is kind of nice, like the windows aren't all scratched up and shit. It's like they have to like hand the bag over through like a little passway thing too. So, and I do like that woman seems very inconvenienced to be like, all right, I guess she probably went in the back and was like, "I'm getting robbed," and they're like, "Just give them the dye packs."
yeah.
I never even worked with dye packs when I was at the bank. We just had a few bills that were serialized, like they kept track of the numbers, which I guess they could find it. That seems like a hell of a way to keep track of something. Be like, we got X amount of bills that we know the serial numbers for. We're gonna have to look for those serial. Just do the dye pack and
Yeah.
make it easy for yourselves. Because the government's gonna just recreate that money anyways and destroy the other money if they get it back.
Yeah.
Because that's how money works. You just print more money.
Just print it endlessly.
But yeah, good pick. I started watching this with Steph last year, but when I say last year, I'm like talking December, like last month. We watched half of it, and she wasn't into it because she said that the character of Nick was scaring her, And I was like, yeah, I get it. Very uncomfortable shots, the insane unibrow, the cold like reaction to him about everything. So we didn't finish. I didn't finish watching it. So I look technically when I watched this all the way through, it's like I watched half the movie and then I rewatched it. So, and I do think that you said somewhere along the lines that there may be something else that we discussed. You had said you had brought up this movie. I can't remember. I feel like a few times like you just
Possibly.
keep missing this movie. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh, I thought about doing it and I never did it.
Oh yeah, it's probably been a few different times that it would have worked for.
Yeah, we never did Uncut Gems.
Is that going to be your connection? You're just gonna go for the most obvious. Just pick Uncut Gems for next time.
I probably will go for the most obvious. But for some reason I thought we had done it. I don't know. Must have just been like excited about that movie. I know I saw it right before the pandemic. Like it came out when COVID was starting up, and I had seen it in theaters like that January before everything went downhill.
Saw that on Christmas Day. It's a good Christmas movie. Good holiday watch.
Did your mom like it?
I think it's probably like the same as like Steph being like Nick scaring me. It's like that guy Adam Sandler scaring me in this movie. It's a little too much.
Yeah. And then, I'm not going to be mean to certain people, but Uncut Gems has like a special connection because like we have a friend that is like verbatim exactly like Howard Ratner.
Yeah.
We were like, we saw the movie and stuff's like, this is like high rolling blank. And I'm like, it is. It's high rolling version of that person. Like had they had money. Because I've heard people, one of my friends say, they're like, I don't like Uncut Gems. There's nobody like this. I'm like, you'd be really surprised. I know a person that is exactly like this.
You just don't know someone like that, but they're out
you don't
there.
know anybody that's making a ton of stupid ass decisions, but like I know somebody who's like all their decisions would 100% match Howard's.
Yeah.
Or Connie's.
Yeah. I mean, they're similar characters. Yeah. Both making
and then
some poor life
he's
decisions.
even like a worse liar. So
yeah,
I think we do like our bad liars. We definitely the movies where the protagonist is a terrible liar. It's a good one. Just like avoid. I'm not even gonna try to lie at this point. But yeah, this was the connection. You connected Good Time to Amores, perros. I can't roll my R's. Which my Espanol must have been fine because some of the Apple podcast will generate transcripts for us like automatically, and like this also has like you can add your own transcripts, but I'm not never gonna do that. We're like one person, so it's not gonna happen. But all the Spanish on there was coming up right, all the names. So I was pretty happy about that. Even the perros thing, where you're like, you said it very white. The transcript had it right every time me or you said it. So I was like, all right, it knows. It's figured it out. But yeah, we'll be back once I decide what I'm going to connect to this movie with my movie. And once I decide what that is, we'll record. So now we're on our 2-week schedule. And we'll just be bi-weekly. Unless I'll probably throw in the Oscars in there. And who knows what else. But generally bi-weekly. So, good conversation. It's good. Chuck's a morning person, so when we record in the morning, perfect. You're on your A game. I'm actually kind of on my A game. I was up enough to have coffee, and I don't feel like too worn out. I was able to, I feel like sometimes I'm brain dead in the morning. We'll be back soon. Stay tuned. And thanks for listening.
We are Cinema d'Amore. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with news and information on upcoming episodes. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Pandora, Alexa, or iHeartRadio. It would be greatly appreciated if you subscribe to our podcast on your platform of choice. We also appreciate feedback, so rate us, review us, and let us know what you think. And above all else, thank you for listening.